Welcome to part 2 of ExOrion's podcast series. We're thrilled to have you with us as we continue our deep dive into the digital transformation of America's manufacturing industry. Today's episode, part 2 of a two-part series, we delve into real-world applications and success stories, navigating challenges of maintaining quality standards, overcoming resistance, and embracing change. The future of manufacturing and CRM systems, and some advice for future leaders in the industry. Before we begin, again we invite you to like, repost, and follow ExOrion Consulting on LinkedIn to stay updated on our insightful series. With that aside, let's dig in.
But I want to come back to something that's a little more tangible. We kind of veered off into the Salesforce realm to some degree. I want to come back to some real-world applications and success stories. So, Jeannie, if you can you sort of discuss some of the tangible impact on efficiency and customer satisfaction and quality assurance?
Yes. So by understanding the implementations from both sides, from both being on the shop floor and also being on a software side, I can identify the pain points that the manufacturers are seeing. I can guide the clients to ensure that we are looking at the best possible solutions to make sure that we're meeting those efficiency, customer, and quality KPIs that are always so important to every manufacturing company. But I try to make sure that I'm taking complex problems and breaking them down to suit the needs of the manufacturer, because not every manufacturer is going to use the system the same way. It's important to understand how we can manipulate, modify and make it work best for each manufacturing requirement, need, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, as you mentioned, not having the people work in silos is important, especially in this market where we're all over the world. We're not in the same shop. Even though we are in the same shop, what is Sean working on? What is Joe working on? Who the heck knows? I don't know how many times I was sitting next to someone in a cubicle and doing my work that my boss gave me, and then checking over to my coworker. What are you working on? I'm working on this. I'm working on this. What the heck? We're sitting next to each other. Why are we working on the same thing?
Right.
Shouldn't we be collaborating? Shouldn't we know what the projects are? I mean, was no visibility. So that, I think, is the most important thing, is getting all your teams off of silos. Like I said, even if you're in the cubicle next to someone, you need to be off that silo, because you need to know what projects are important to your organization, what the priorities are, and who's working on what kind of cadence do we have to when these projects need to be done. Let's start collaborating. Let's start working together. Let's break down these walls and these barriers, and let's stop worrying about, the other person may have an upper hand on me. I can't share this information with them. No, sharing the information is what will make the company and you succeed. So
100%. No, that's. I'm glad you put it that way. And a lot of the way that the way that Salesforce fundamentally is built is to leverage collaboration or across the organization, right from fingers to the keyboard, right up to the corner office. Okay, so let's talk about navigating challenges, maintaining quality standards with evolving technology. So can you discuss how to maintain ISO standards, specifically amidst all this technological change, with all this discussion about artificial intelligence? Salesforce has a big push now since Dreamforce 2023 on the artificial intelligence they've baked into a lot of their platform solutions. How do these sort of, the fact that now a lot of manufacturing companies have some have, for the most part, been able to operate for the last 40, 50 years without really having to delve too much into the technology space, but are beginning to realize that it's getting more and more difficult now to compete on spreadsheets, and that we're going to have to, raise the bar to really get out there and compete in this market space. So can you give us some idea of how to maintain ISO standards amidst all this change that's going on?
So the most important thing is to be able to have a team together that can track your risks, your opportunities, your issues throughout the floor, share them with management, create projects, create continuous improvement projects, gather your real world data, and guide and prioritize these projects to ensure that we're working on what truly is important to the company. A lot of us think that by doing this one thing, we're going to get this big change. And a lot of times it's not the case. So you need to be able to have the data gathered. You need to be able to track your risks, to see what opportunities you have coming up, and then to be able to take those, prioritize them, and then start creating those continuous improvement projects. So the company is working towards what really matters, what their vision, mission, goals are for the year. And then, of course, we keep going back to this, sharing your data and information with your coworkers. I think, especially maybe in our generation, Gen X, we were always worried about sharing our information, sharing or whatever we had, because, then the other person might have a leg up and you're going to lose your job. You can't share that information. No, that's not the case anymore. We need to be working collaboratively with each other, whether we're in the same room, the same office, or across the oceans from each other. We need to focus on collaboration, because that is where we will exceed. And then again, we keep going back to knowledge transfer. Our employees are our best resource for information. Go to them. Find out what's working for them. Find out what isn't working for them. How can we transform their pain points into, making things easier for them? How can we take this evolution of our technology and make it work for our people? So again, taking from what they have and to what we have and trying to find that gap.
Okay, and so fundamentally then, I guess what you're saying is that the point behind having these ISO standards isn't just to say, hey, look, we're ISO certified 9001, 27001. It really is about saying, hey, how do we get through the day today, and what are the processes we're following, and how much duplication is there, and how much, where is there an opportunity for us to become more lean, more efficient, more competitive, so that way, we stand out in the marketplace, like we're getting more done in a shorter span of time, basically, and more effectively done, right? I mean, is that fundamentally, in a nutshell, what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, I like to refer to the movie Office Space, where the guy with the stapler, he just like disappeared because no one knew what he really did, and was he non-value added? Where can we move them? I'm not saying get rid of people, but you need to be able to know what you have, what work is being done, who's doing what, and where can they be most utilized.
Yes, I remember the red stapler. That's a great example. I love that movie. That when they took the printer outside and decided to take out their frustrations on the printer.
Yes.
I've had moments like that in my life.
Me
I wish they
too.
could do that. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about overcoming resistance and embracing change. So I'll kind of hand it over to you, Jeannie, to sort of talk through, based on your experience now, both on the manufacturing floor side as well as on the technology side. Obviously, you've seen sort of both sides. You've seen that there's a lot of overlap, a lot of similarities, because wherever you go, you're going to find people. So, but I'll let you sort of walk us through sort of what you see as the best way to embrace change and overcome resistance. And I know that's a really big piece, especially in the industry we're talking about, because again, our generation is getting ready to hit the golf course, and so we've got to hand things off to the next generation, and they're going to change things. They're going to have to, for the companies, these organizations to thrive in this very quickly growing economy. Like I said before, and obviously as a lot of our viewers know, manufacturers oftentimes grow through acquisitions. So the likelihood that you are either going to acquire another manufacturing plant or are going to be acquired by another manufacturing plant is very common. I've worked on many Salesforce implementations where my manufacturing client acquired other clients. One in particular where they had acquired 5 partners. So we had to build integrations between this sort of the host or the owning company, manufacturing company, and 5 different enterprise reporting platforms that did business differently. Their product suite was different. Their catalog was different. How they went to market was different. How they sold the products was different. But all they had to feed back into one place so that the company could sort of manage as a holistic unit. So let me just hand this over to you. Maybe you can take us sort of through your view of best way to overcome resistance and to really embrace change so that the sector can grow into the next into the digital era.
So pretty plain and simple. We don't like change. No one does. It's can be simply said like that. And we have a lot of mentality out there where if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? My pencil works just fine. Why should I go to a digital platform for my information? I don't understand. And it's important that we listen to our employees, our managers, everyone's needs out there, because everyone learns differently. So how can you help? How can you make this less painful for the change that you know has to occur on your manufacturing floor? So one of my best examples is I was a quality manager back in 2012, and the company was 115 years old. So it was pretty well established. They had been doing everything the same since probably 1964. I would go and find documentation dated 1964, and I'm like, wait, it's 2012. Shouldn't we be reviewing this and I don't know, looking at it? So of course, at that point, I had to introduce a new software to these gentlemen that have probably been there to write the original 1964 documents. So they looked at me like, what the heck? This has worked fine for the last how many years? You know, what are you doing in here? Who do you think you are? You know, trying to make sure that you're taking our pencils away and you wanted to track this way? What? So I made sure that I went to each station, I went to each guy on the floor, and I listened to them. I talked to them. How would we make this easier? What are your pain points? How can we make this better for you? What do you need out here? And then, of course, I determined that these guys couldn't be brought into one large training room, me sit behind a screen and show them, okay, now you click this and you punch this and you do this. I knew that type of style training would not work for them. So what I determined is that I needed to go to them. I needed to work in a smaller groups, and I needed to go and I had to show them that, be excited about it, show them that this is going to simplify this because of this, this, and this. And if I showed them how I could improve their lives on a 1-on-1 or 1-on-2-3 basis, the implementation went so much smoother. It did take a lot of time. It did take a lot of effort. But because I listened to my team and I knew what they needed, I knew that this was the only way that I was going to survive and get them to make the changes that we needed for us to be successful moving forward for the next 115 years.
Nice. Yeah, it's that's key in every industry that I've managed Salesforce implementations across. And that change is difficult. You know, once you sort of figure out, okay, now I know sort of the pattern I need to go through to get from Monday to Friday to get my job done and to do it to the best of my ability. And when you come and sort of drop something in the middle that changes that fundamentally, it creates a bit of anxiety. So, you know, like you mentioned, you know, sometimes you have to sort of you have to understand what's the benefit for me in this, like, why am I doing this, right? And once people understand, okay, this is different, but this is how it benefits you, and they begin to say, wait a second, I'm able to get what I was getting done from Monday to Friday by Wednesday. That could be one outcome, right? Or maybe, I have a completely different job now, or a tweak to the job I'm working on now, which makes it more interesting or more fun, or something I've always wanted to do, but I was kind of stuck just doing this because it just needed to be done. So there's lots of opportunity there. All right, so let's talk about the future of manufacturing. Now, if I may, I'll just sort of take this here really quickly. And a lot of the future of manufacturing, not specifically from the sector, but as it relates to CRM systems, which is customer relationship management, or the digital transformation aspect of it. As I mentioned earlier, Salesforce have an annual event called Dreamforce. It happens around October every year. And that's where they basically have the big representation of all the work that they've done and the new features and functionality, and how they're really aligning a lot of the features that they're building into Salesforce based on the feedback that they're getting from the different industries, including manufacturing, which has about 6 years ago, when I first got into the Salesforce ecosystem, there really wasn't any focus on manufacturing. And I'd say in the last 3 years, that has turned around 180 degrees, and it's exploded to the point where it's almost, I wouldn't say exclusively, but it's very heavily weighted in the direction of manufacturing. So Dreamforce had a very heavy emphasis on that. I can include links. I'll include links in this post for people to go and take a look at some of the video clips about that. I have a lot of blog content on here that's specific to the manufacturing industry, as I mentioned earlier. I'll heavily recommend that. And just last week here in Atlanta, where I'm located, on the 10th of January, we had the Salesforce Manufacturing Summit, where it was a smaller crowd, but it was really focused on manufacturing clients and folks who are providing support to manufacturers, including implementation companies like ExOrion, who are helping them with implementing Salesforce, or making adjustments or tweaks or modifications to really align the platform with the way that they do business, and at the same time make sure that they're baking in best practices. So one of the benefits is not just, hey, we're getting some new software system that we all have to learn. What you're also getting with Salesforce and with the proper implementation partner is best practices across the industry. So where there may be learnings you might be getting from a company like Le Mans, who presented at the Salesforce Manufacturers Summit last week. Their VP of IT, David Green, did great presentation, and they're a very, very large manufacturing company. There's best practices that these companies introduce to Salesforce, that Salesforce bakes into their overall platform, so that companies that are significantly smaller, anywhere from 1 to 50 employees, 200 to 500 employees, over 10,000, they're all benefiting from the same best practices. So a lot that's baked in there. Some of what was identified as, what's coming for the manufacturing industry that are game changers include modernizing commercial operations with enhanced efficiencies, empowering manufacturers to manage their complete book of business more effectively, and streamlining processes and ensuring more robust book management, transforming the middle office with Salesforce Revenue Cloud. So really unifying the commercial catalog, pricing, orders, contracts, and rebates on CRM to really drive operational efficiencies and revenue growth. They talked a lot about automating revenue growth with Salesforce Commerce Cloud. So there's a lot of different cloud solutions, if you will, that kind of all work together like you would maybe connect Lego blocks, if you will. And Commerce Cloud helps them boost merchant productivity, automates the post-sale reordering if you have to sort of do a reordering of parts and so on, and redefines business purchasing. They also have things like service excellence with Manufacturing Cloud for Service. So this is where they integrate the data with artificial intelligence and the CRM platform. And when you kind of put that all together, it showcases a holistic approach to service excellence and deepens the asset service lifecycle management. And you had other vendors there, for example, like Rootstock. Rootstock is a company that builds an ERP system that integrates perfectly with Salesforce. They presented, and they had Rochelle O'Brien, who's the CEO of Gerotech, who kind of presented their journey with Rootstock. Some of the emerging trends that came up in that summit last week include very, very interesting information, like 44% of manufacturers prioritize customer satisfaction as their top priority. That was the IDC survey. They have 70% of manufacturers see technology and digital innovation as a key business driver. This is a Gartner survey, 70%. So if you're wondering, where's the energy going in the industry? Where are people focusing? The majority of your competitors are focusing on technology and digital information innovation. And Salesforce is recognized as a leader in enterprise B2B digital commerce based on the IDC MarketScape survey. So they're at the top and to the right of that chart, which is where Salesforce says they consistently like to be. So some features that are coming up and include the Manufacturing Cloud's Sales Agreement Copilot. Copilot basically is what Salesforce is calling their AI component, which is, again, baked into the foundation of Salesforce's solutions. They're going to have revenue lifecycle management, which is coming up, and which is set to redefine how manufacturers engage with their customers and manage their sales processes. So again, going back to your point, Jeannie, about efficiency, Salesforce is continuously looking at ways to bake efficiency into their solution. And basically embracing the digital transformation. So ExOrion is a consulting company. We are a Salesforce consulting company, and our commitment is to guiding our clients through their digital transformation journey. We have plenty of experience in that respect, over 100,000 hours of implementation experience across our employees. And so we bring that experience to the table, and very specifically focused at this time on manufacturing, the manufacturing industry. There's a lot of opportunity there. So ready to partner with a lot of you out there and to implement these solutions seamlessly within your operations. So with that said, Jeannie, I'm going to come back to you for some advice you may have for our future leaders. And then maybe we can start wrapping things up if that's okay.
I think a couple of my biggest takeaways or advice I have for the young professionals coming into management roles is don't dismiss your employees. They're your greatest asset. Work with those who have the seniority and the experience, because their wisdom is invaluable. I think that's where I was able to have most of my successes, is because I did not dismiss them. Another big important factor is a degree doesn't make you smarter or better. Yes, we have our degrees, but I'm telling you right now, the guys that I worked with on the floor, I learned more from them than I ever did in a classroom. And then don't be afraid to fail. All your failures do lead to a success. And it's important to be able to feel no fault when you do fail. Just pick yourself up and move along and try again, because that's how we all learn, is by failing.
I like the way that you put it that way. The analogy I like to use is like the baseball analogy. If you strike out once, you haven't lost the game yet. There are 9 innings, and in life you have as many innings as you get up out of bed. So if you strike out today, okay, adjust your stance, work on your grip, work on your swing. You're going to get another at bats, and you just take that lesson from the last strikeout and apply it to the next at bats, and that's just life in general. Okay, so Jeannie, final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to work with you and helping move into the future of manufacturing, and taking what I have learned in my past, what I'm currently learning now, and help clients with all of their pain points and their implementations that they need.
Thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, one of the things that's really important, I want to emphasize, if it didn't come across clearly in our podcast, is that at ExOrion, we recognize the fact that, when we come in to do a Salesforce implementation or to do enhancements or adjustments, or if you already have Salesforce and you've acquired another company, you need to build an integration to their ERP. Yeah, we're technology people, but I'm a project manager by trade. I've been a project manager for over 30 years. And one of the recurring themes when I manage a project is you have technology, you have the technology people in the room, you have the engineers and so on. But unless you're able to get your team to work together cohesively and listen, to your point, Jeannie, to the client, the subject matter experts on the client site, to sit there and listen and take notes and understand what their business pains are, what their processes are, why they do things the way that they do them. There's a reason why they do them the way they do them, the way that they do them. It plays a huge role in the success of implementation. I've seen this play out even more pronounced, in a more pronounced fashion in the last 3 or 4 years working in the manufacturing space. So I have to say that I've worked in many industries in my career. The manufacturing space is probably my favorite, simply because, we get the brass tacks. Up is up, down is down, left is left, right is right. Let's make this work. Let's figure this out. And it's about problem solving. And I really enjoy that, the energy in the room and with the team. And my team, yourself included, obviously, work very well in that environment, because when we get down to implementation, I may be the CEO of this company, but delivery is my background. And we see each other every day throughout implementation. We work through the issues, we work through the solutioning, and building that relationship with our clients is key. At ExOrion, our focus is really becoming trusted advisors. We're not interested in one and done projects. So if we're in there, we want to be able to help you grow, help you tweak your processes to enhance the way that you're doing things, so that way you're continuously increasing your ability to be more competitive in the market space. So with that little plug at the end, I will go ahead and start wrapping it up. I want to thank Jeannie. Thank you for joining us and walking us through your experience and your expertise. Really helping us to understand the manufacturing space and where the overlap between that and ISO's quality standards is a huge benefit. And then we kind of layer on top of that Salesforce. Jeannie, I'll include your information to connect with you on LinkedIn on the podcast and the details below, so people can just take a look at the details below. And as you may all see on YouTube, although this isn't on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. Please share this with anybody else who you think might find value in this content. Any final words, Jeannie, before we go?
No, just thank you so much, Sean. I'm looking forward to this wild ride.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you, Jeannie. Talk to you all later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
As we conclude our insightful series on the digital transformation of manufacturing with Salesforce Cloud Solutions, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our listeners and to Jeannie Hill for her invaluable contributions. Jeannie's expertise and experience have provided us with a unique perspective on the industry's evolution. We hope this series has enlightened you on the impact of digital innovation in manufacturing and inspired you to explore new possibilities. Stay tuned for more enriching discussions from ExOrion Consulting. Again, we invite you to like, repost, and follow ExOrion Consulting on LinkedIn for the latest updates and insights. Thank you for joining us on this journey.